Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. Tonight, we are going to be venturing down a strange rabbit hole indeed, and that would be something called the Mandela effect. Uh, Recently, we had as a guest here on our show legendary film and television show producer Bob Kiviat, and he is perhaps most known for his work on the Fox television Alien Autopsy and also on the Unsolved Mysteries television show. So, when he was a guest recently, he got me interested in this thing called the Mandela effect. Now, to be clear, I had seen about it, seen some videos on it in the past, heard about it, didn't really interest me that much. But Bob was so excited about this thing. And also, he's producing a film on this Mandela effect. It's one of his new major projects. So, that is what got me started down this rabbit hole. And again, I had seen examples of this in the past, but hadn't been interested enough really to dive so deep down into what is a crazy, crazy rabbit hole. There are thousands, tens of thousands, maybe, of websites, blogs, videos you can watch with examples and more. And this is one of those things like I love these rabbit holes. Like, let's see how far the rabbit hole goes. And for the past, I don't know, several weeks now, uh or month since Bob was here, there was something about him being he was so intensely interested in this thing that I said, there's got to be more to it than the surface level. So I've been doing research on this independently of Bob, and here's what I can tell you. What is called the Mandela effect began in 2009 when a researcher and someone who calls themselves a paranormal consultant, her name is Theona Broom, she published a blog where she claimed to remember very specific details of Nelson Mandela dying in 1980. And she even remembered details like specific news coverage, his funeral on television, and even his wife at the funeral and his eulogy. Turned because after publishing this blog, she was shocked to discover that many, many people besides her remembered Nelson Mandela dying in the early 1980s. Now, we know that that is not the case. At least history teaches us that he lived to a ripe old age and died many, many years later, decades later, in fact. So, how could this be? Is this, as some people theorize, some kind of glitch in the matrix? And if this is, and if that is a glitch in the matrix, is that because we truly are living in some sort of simulation? Others have hypothesized that this strange phenomenon is due to time travelers who are actively traveling through our timelines and generating changes in our timeline somehow, some sort of a paradox due to their traveling through time. Others have suggested that this has something to do with parallel universes. Some have theorized, including very educated theoretical physicist, I heard, has a hypothesis that this phenomenon is somehow related to parallel universes or quantum mechanics, quantum physics. So, what is this effect? And is it a glitch in the matrix or something that rewrites the very rules of our memories and our reality? Before I got too excited, however, remember the original explanation for how this phenomenon all got so much attention was in 2009, and it centered around the memory of the death of Nelson Mandela, which most would say that's a false memory. He did not die in the early 1980s in prison. So, an early possible explanation I found for what may be occurring here and what even started this entire event is something that I would just consider jumbled memories. Because besides Nelson Mandela being in prison at the time for his anti-apartheid demonstrations and leadership in South Africa, there was many, many other people who were also anti-apartheid activists. And I did find reference of one of them. His name was Steve Biko. He was a South African anti-apartheid activist, active and in prison at some of the same times that Nelson Mandela was. And I consulted with somebody who is a much more learned as far as African history than I am. And I was told by that person that they were aware that Steve Biko, at the time of his death, was arguably as famous as Nelson Mandela was at that time. Steve Biko died in 1977. So I wondered, could it be that people recalled the death of Steve Biko in prison and the memory of that event somehow got jumbled with Nelson Mandela in later years? I tried to find reference of whether Steve Bitko's funeral and eulogy were televised or news reports of it. I did find that there were news reports of his dying in prison, but I was unable to find, like evidence that they had broadcast his funeral or eulogy on any television in Africa or otherwise. But still, I wondered, is this all a trick of memory and neurons, or was it something more? After all, memories are notoriously unreliable. We can see this in the number of people. I'm always sad about this. Look up the Innocence Project and then look at statistics for how many people are convicted wrongly of crimes due to memory of supposed firsthand, victims of crime. Not supposed, they are victims of crime, but they have these supposed memories and they are, in many cases, 100% sure. And they will sit there in a courtroom and point to an accused person saying, that's the person who hurt me, raped me, tried to kill me, whatever. And later we find out that their memory was false, that the person that they are literally fingering in court as their attacker was not their attacker. So we do know from science that memories are notoriously unreliable, and they are susceptible. Of course, memories are susceptible to being rewritten, erased, modified, or changed with new stimulus, new inputs. Memories are also very susceptible to suggestion, groupthink, decay over time, and more. How many of us remember things wrongly, right? I remember talking not long ago with my brother, and we were talking about, the good old days and when we were kids and something to do with our parents. And I remember that I was sure, 100% sure that I remembered an event a certain way. And he's my older brother. His memory of our childhood is arguably better than mine. And he corrected me, no, that's not what happened. You're remembering it wrong. And I was sort of shocked because I was 100% certain that this event happened a certain way. Nope, I was completely and totally wrong. This reminded me that memories have a tendency, after all, to decay over time. And what about Fiona Broome? Well, I did some more digging into the so-called originator of this Mandela effect and found that besides believing that the Mandela effect was real, she's kind of a catch-all paranormal person. What do I mean? She believes in all of it. UFOs, interdimensional beings, alternate universes, alien visitation, UFO crashes, ghosts, demons, goblins, everything. So at the very start here, I was more skeptical that is there something to this? And by the way, besides Bob's, he sort of encouraged me just to look into it and make up my own mind. And this is what I decided to do. So I want to be very clear here, because some people that are stupid have this mistaken belief here about what we do here. And especially the people that have some kind of axe to grind, and they will say, "Oh, he's doing a show on the Mandela effect. He believes that's real," and it becomes an attack vector. So, as we start our presentation tonight, let me remind you that I am simply exploring the possibilities here. And despite, have I made up my mind? Not entirely, but I think so, about what I think is happening here. But as is often the case, I am much more interested in what you, the audience, think about this phenomenon than what I think. After all, just because I have maybe gone a little further down the rabbit hole than some doesn't mean that I'm correct in my review here of what I think is going on. It could be that others are right. And by the way, while researching this phenomenon, I have found some very incredibly educated people, including quantum physicists and other scientists. I found a neurologist that believes that there is something strange going on here. Something, I don't think the correct term would be supernatural, but something not right here. I mean, real scientists are looking into this and not quite being able to explain it. Now, are there explanations? Yes, many people say that this is all a trick of memory and decay over time, groupthink, neurons, suggestion. Some people believe that it is something more. And I repeat what I've said. I do believe that memories are notoriously unreliable, but we're going to get into some of the examples here of this Mandela effect. And some of these I can't get my brain around. And that's why, listen, I don't know if there's anything to this or not, but this is a fun journey down a strange rabbit hole. And we're going to show some examples. We'll cite fair use, but this is a public website. And I have 50 examples here of the Mandela effect. Yeah. And some of these I remember so strongly to be a certain way from my childhood. And you may as well. And I want to know what you think in the live chat as we explore these possibilities. Do you remember things one way or the other? So we'll begin here. And this is actually Good Housekeeping, but they have a good example here. And we can start with the text here, which states the Mandela effect is a phenomenon that makes us question even the most mundane memories of the past. In June 2019, the famed New York Times crossword puzzle made it the theme and defined it as, quote, a recent refinement of false memory that typically refers to pop culture or current event references, named by paranormal researcher Fiona Broom. It's basically remembering something that doesn't match with historical records. For example, the stuff you use to make your home smell fresh isn't Febreze. More on that later. So this kind of stuff has really made me question my reality in certain ways. So the reason we're all here, Nelson Mandela, who this theory is named after, died in 2013. However, countless people distinctly remember him dying in prison in the 1980s. But his death isn't the only example of a Mandela effect. We have been wrong about so many dates, details, and more. Keep going for more commonly misremembered moments in history. This one threw me. I swear I remember that the peanut butter of my childhood was called Jiffy. And it says people swear there was a Jiffy peanut butter back in the day, but speculate that they're combining Jif with its competitor Skippy. So Jiffy peanut butter does not exist. I swear I remember Jiffy peanut butter and my mother making Jiffy peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So this is a weird one to me. Looney Tunes. It's Tunes, not Toons, which makes no sense to me. I'm sure that I remember it Toons. And every day after school, when I was a young child, I guess from nursery school or kindergarten till third or fourth grade, I would come home and we would watch cartoons right after school. They'd be on at 3 o'clock. We got out at 2:45, go home, get a snack, and watch cartoons. Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, all of it. I swore to remember it the wrong way. Now, this one is ridiculous to me because we had book club in my school and we would get books from, the Scholastic thing, or, you remember your mom would give you like $5 and you could buy a couple of books. And I had Bernstein Bears books when I was a child, but it's Berenstain, not Berenstein or Berenstein Bears. Berenstain makes no sense to me. I remember it Berenstein. And what about you? Do you remember things this way? This is another one. Curious George never had a tail. I remember him having a tail. I remember even watching the cartoons on PBS with my with my oldest son. He watched Curious George cartoons. I went and looked up the cartoons on YouTube. No tail. Curious George never had a tail. Here's another one, Sex and the City. While these four women were having sex in the city, the show was actually titled Sex and the City. I used to watch that with my wife. Great. And Febreze. You might use the stuff every day, but to be honest, you thought it was Febreze, didn't you? It's Febreze. Great. But you thought it was Breeze. It's Febreze. This one, I'm sure it was Febreze. My wife calls it Febreze. I call it Febreze. It's Febreze, technically. And there's a whole lot of references to logos that people misremember. It's strange, right? Is it Meyer with an E or Meyer with an A? There's an A in it. Oscar Mayer. The Skechers logo, people misremember. This one is another one. Kellogg had been spelling fruit like that for years, and we only noticed it now. Wowza. It's not fruit as the typical word is spelled, but Froot. And I wondered if they did that on purpose because there's no actual fruit in it, so they can't call it by the real word. I don't know, but I remember it spelled like the fruit. It's not. Froot is the way it's spelled. This one I don't recall or remember. Henry VIII with turkey leg. This one is another one that I swear I remember. Monopoly Man had a monocle. I played Monopoly growing up. It was my favorite board game growing up, right? The Monopoly Man never had a monocle. Some suggest it was simple confusion between him and the Planters Peanut Company mascot, Mr. Peanut. Others, I dug into this one because this one bothered me. Like, I'm sure he had a monocle. I dug into it, and there may have been some advertisements where someone drew the Monopoly Man with a monocle. That may be what we're remembering and not a true memory of him always having a monocle. Pikachu's tail. Pikachu's tail never had black on its end. That's another one. Kit Kat never had a hyphen in it. Fruit of the Loom, this one bothered me a lot. I swear I remember the cornucopia behind the fruit. According to everything I was able to locate, Fruit of the Loom never had a cornucopia behind it. However, I did find some references to the fact that in some cases there were brown leaves shown behind the fruit and some people may be misremembering or confusing what was brown leaves behind the fruit in some advertisements for this cornucopia. Another one that threw me for the loop, Cheez-Its. We swear there used to be an extra Z at the end. Nope, there never was. It was never Cheez-Its. It was always Cheez-It. Cheez-It? You want some Cheez-It crackers? No, my mom always said Cheez-Its. And here we go. Double stuff Oreos. There isn't a second F in the stuff. They spelled it S-T-U-F, one F. Another thing that I misremember, apparently. Either that or there's alternate universes or time travelers rewriting history as we speak. I can't explain it. Mona Lisa's smile. So many people have claimed she used to have a more obvious smile, and she doesn't. It's almost expressionless to me. C-3PO has a silver leg. Now, this one I had a problem with because I grew up with Star Wars, and apparently, yeah, he always had the silver leg. But I am sure that I had action figures that were all gold, no silver leg. So if I'm misremembering this one, it's the toy company's fault for making the C-3PO toy all gold, no silver in the leg. But this one is another one. Flintstones has 2 T. It's not the Flintstones, which is the way I've always said it, Flynn Stones. It's the Flint Stones. Who says Flint Stones? I'm going to go watch the Flint Stones. Nobody. I always said the Flintstones. Maybe it's just easier to say Flintstone than it is to say Flintstone. And that's why we all remember it as Flintstones. I have no idea. There is only one Cinderella castle, and it's in Walt Disney World in Florida. The blue and pink castle in California's Disneyland is Sleeping Beauty's. So there's only one Cinderella's castle. If you go to the other Disneyland, it's not it. Ed McMahon and Publishers Clearinghouse. Ed McMahon was never a spokesperson for the company. Instead, he worked for American Family Publishers. So here we can see some examples. And it's interesting that examples of this Mandela effect are all throughout our culture. It's children's cereal, candy, it's movies, lines from movies, toys, children's books, wrestling even. Go on YouTube and you can look up virtually any part of culture, music, rock, and find Mandela effect. In the movie Casablanca, the line is never said. What is said by Ingrid Bergman's character is, "Play it once, Sam, for old times." I always remember that she said, "Play it again, Sam." Nope, never happened. And this one, another Star Wars one, by the way, there is tons of Mandela effect stuff in Star Wars, but I think that some of the Star Wars Mandela effect are due to George Lucas never leaving the goddamn original trilogy alone. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but being a Star Wars fan, I am. There has been, I think it's something like 6 different versions of the original Star Wars trilogy, episodes 4, 5, and 6. And, George Lucas kept going in and putting more CGI and shit in and ruining it. That may be why there's some of this, but this one is inexplainable. The exchange is as iconic as Star Wars movies themselves. However, it's another line that was never said. "No, I am your father" is the line. So I went, I'm crazy. So I went and I checked. I have a copy of the original print of all 3 movies on VHS before George Lucas started messing with everything with adding CGI and, stupid things. I think he should have never messed with it, but, to each their own. Some people like the special editions and 3rd edition, and I don't know. So I checked in the original print. I've checked YouTube. This one I was wrong about. I swore he said, "Luke, I am your father." No. He said, "No, I am your father." That's the line. Yeah, and this is another one. In the original Jaws, by the way, I have traumatic memories of the movie Jaws, and that's a long story. uh, I saw the movie Jaws with my grandmother and my mother at this beach, and my grandmother got drunk and got in a fight with somebody over seats somehow. Traumatic memory. But I have seen Jaws several times since then, even though it's always brings back that memory of my Irish drunken grandmother getting in a fist fight. I remember me and the kids, all the kids were crying and shit, and they were going at it. The cops came. My dad had to come and get us. Anyway, uh, I swear that I remembered him saying, "We're going to need a bigger boat." He never said, "We're going to need a bigger boat." He said, "You're going to need a bigger boat." Yeah. Chartreuse, this one didn't mean anything to me. This is another one. Life is like a box of chocolates. Is life is like a box of chocolates. That is not what Forrest Gump, played by the amazing Tom Hanks, actually said. If you listen closely, he said, life was like a box of chocolates. I mean, some of these are little differences that I'm not sure, Mirror, mirror on the wall. Apparently, the Wicked Queen never said mirror, mirror on the wall. She said magic mirror on the wall. But this one I think is easily explainable because we have to remember that some of these stories that Disney just decided that they owned, like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, were around for ages, right? Before they were taken by Disney and appropriated, right? Now, I don't think I'd have to look into that. Can you get away with using a story that Disney has taken that was in the public, domain for hundreds of years? I don't know. That's an interesting question, but I think that maybe other people said "mirror, mirror on the wall" or other versions of similar stories using a magic mirror have said "mirror, mirror on the wall." Um, Black Eyed Peas released a hit single, Boom Boom Paw, in 2008. It really came out in 2009. Fergie Doesn't Sing. That's another one of those. Yeah, Luke, I Am Your Father. This is another one. Tom Cruise's Sunglasses, Risky Business. Run, you fools. Hate to burst your bubble, but this memorable line was never said by Gandalf. So, and I got to tell you, the examples go on and on and on. You can do this for 5 hours. I have, but I think that there may be some explanation. But we're gonna cite fair use. I'm gonna share with you. I have been bookmarking good videos. There's so many videos, and some of them are not so great, but I think that some people explain this phenomenon simply as false memories. One second. So we're going to cite fair use. This is a transformative work. We're educating the public about this thing called the Mandela effect. And we'll be discussing and critiquing the video that we are sharing here. So this is by a YouTuber, DiscoverZen. There's some other excellent videos there. We'll put a link in the description.
Have you ever experienced the Mandela effect? False memories, or Mandela effect, refers to a phenomenon where someone recalls something that did not happen or recalls it differently from the way that it actually happened. The name of the theory dates back to 2010, when numerous people on the internet falsely remembered Nelson Mandela was dead. It was widely believed he died in prison during the 1980s. Mandela was actually freed in 1990 and passed away in 2013. But thousands of people still do remember the fact that Mandela died in prison, with news coverage of his funeral and a heartfelt speech by his widow. Now,
yeah, and I want to get to this more information on this Steve Bitko, Because if we can get confirmation that his wife gave his eulogy and it was televised somewhere, this may explain most of this mystery. But so far, I've been unable to do that. I will continue to look into that one.
Now, the question is, how can so many people have the same false memory that didn't ever happen? Another famous example can be something like Jiffy peanut butter. If you looked forward to your school lunch break because your parents or guardian packed a Jiffy peanut butter sandwich, your childhood may be a lie. While both Jif and Skippy brands have lined store shelves, there's never been a Jiffy brand. For this false memory, there is a theory suggesting that since both Jif and Skippy used to be on the same shelf, people incorporated wrong elements in the process of both names.
I don't know about that one. I remember Jiffy peanut butter, god damn it. And if these time travelers are screwing with the timeline, yeah, I don't know.
Now that's encoded in people's memories. And the false memory is what they are remembering. They don't remember the experience of seeing it, but the experience of falsely remembering. One more example can be found from the 1979 James Bond movie, Moonraker. There is a short sequence in the movie where a character named Dolly first meets Jaws, was originally reported as Dolly saving Jaws, and Jaws looking at her and falling in love with her, before smiling at her and baring his metal teeth. Dolly then returns a smile, revealing her braces to him. This was an extremely known joke that Jaws and Dolly belonged together because of their metal teeth and braces, hence why they first fell in love. In reality, Dolly is totally braceless throughout the film. People were shocked to find out after rewatching the scene that she never had braces, despite every major James Bond fan claiming that she did.
I don't remember this one. And my father was a huge James Bond fan, and I remember the Jaws character, but I don't remember this girl or this thing about the braces.
This Mandela effect was so perplexing that it even made people commit suicide. Many people claimed that this is one example of history actually being altered, while some say that these memories are just bits and pieces from an alternate reality where it actually happened. Next up, Bernstein bears, or Bernstein bears. While many people...
This one kills me because I swear I had books when I was a child. I think many of us did have those Bernstein bear books.
Distinctly remember the name spelled Bernstein, pronounced Steen. The actual name of both bears in the authors is Bernstein, pronounced as it would be Stain. The controversy has created online factions, with one side assuring the other that it has always been spelled Bernstein, and that this is just a widespread misunderstanding. But some who believe Bernstein argue that this controversy is something more, a conspiracy. To paraphrase some fairly serious quantum physics, the theory posits that sometime between 1986 and 2011, our universe, in which the bears were named Bernstein, merged with a near identical parallel universe in which the family is called Bernstein.
This is where things get crazy. Like, is it just a false memory, or are parallel universes merging somehow? Yeah, I think that's a little far-fetched. It is perplexing to me though, because every fiber of me tells me that it was Bernstein when I was a child.
Which altered our history and left many people perplexed by the change. Further, theorists argue that this mess could have even been created by an errant time traveler. But there is more to this. The pronunciation was messed up even during the launch of the animated series. Take a quick listen to this part of the theme song, which was...
Here's where it gets crazy. So maybe we're not all nuts remembering it a certain way.
Played during every start of the video.
The Bernstein Bears. The Bernstein Bears.
There is other evidence to show people pronouncing Bernstein or Bernstein, but let's move on to a different example because this one seems to have more of the problem of just mass confusion. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Or was it magic mirror on the wall?
Yeah, what do you remember in the live chat? I remember mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Magic mirror on the wall doesn't flow the same way. It doesn't seem right to me.
This film quote that's misremembered by thousands of people is the 1937 Disney classic Snow White, when the Wicked Queen says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of them all?" Except that's not quite the right quote. The correct quote is,
Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
you heard it right. Magic mirror on the wall. This page that you are seeing here from the original source of the animated series, and it reads "Mirror, mirror on the series." And since it was originally planned like this, people adapt to the old version. But this doesn't end here. The most absurd part of that is the original Disney material in 1973 opted to use not so true version of it. Why is that so? Maybe the answer lies in a different time, or alternate reality, which we might
I'm
never.
not sure that this is an alternate reality merging with our own. Could it be that we all had the children's book as well when we were a child, or our mother had the book when we were babies and read it to us as mirror, mirror? Maybe we are conflating two separate memories: the memory of watching the movie as a child and the memory of hearing our mothers or someone else, our father or us ourselves, reading the books, which did say mirror, mirror. This is where things get confusing. And I found myself questioning my own memory. I tried to remember really hard, if my mother, despite our differences, one of the things that I'm sure that my mother did right is when we were children, she read books to us constantly. And I'm sure she read Snow White to us. I'm sure she read many Disney books to us when we were children, and Bernstein Bears as well.
Or no. But one thing to note is that the word magic mirror was taken from a different cartoon altogether.
Betty Boop, that's where it gets interesting. I don't know about any of you, but I grew up watching Popeye reruns, and yeah, Betty Boop.
Chick mirror in my hand, who's the fairest in the land?
The Ford logo. How do you remember it? Is it this or this? Everyone is pretty familiar with the Ford Motor Corp logo, but some remember there never being the curly pigtail swirl in the capital F, which is seen today.
Yeah, and how do you remember it? Because I don't remember the pigtail at all.
Many people assume that the logo's inspiration must have been from Henry himself, since it dates back to when he started building the company. But the truth is, it's not. It's from the company's first chief engineer, designer named Clyde Harold Wills. Wills designed business cards and took the styling from some used source on his own to use the Ford logo when Henry asked him. There have been various other instances of false memory, including many from the beloved Star Wars franchise.
That stupid leg is going to drive me crazy. Yeah, and then I did see that, yes, you can see the silver leg, at least in Star Wars A New Hope, when I checked that desert scene where he and R2-D2 are walking through the desert. There's a silver portion of the leg that's not gold. Then why then do I so strongly remember that C-3PO was just all gold, right? And then they screwed us up even more with these last three trilogies, giving him a red arm for no reason in one of them.
But due to so much conflicting evidence, we simply can't cover all of this in this video. Now, what would be the reason for the Mandela effect, which people have experienced around the globe? Some doctors believe that the Mandela effect is a form of confabulation. A common analogy for confabulation is honest lying. A person creates a false memory without intending to lie or deceive others. Instead, they're attempting to fill the gaps in their own memory. Many examples of the Mandela effect are close to the original or true memory. Confabulation is just a symptom of various memory disorders in which made-up stories fill in any gaps in memory.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Remember that our brains are designed to recognize certain patterns and to make sense from nonsensical things, and maybe our memories do fill in the blanks. Many of these things may be a matter of just how the brain works with patterns and pattern recognition and filling in the blanks when information, the total information is not available, your mind will fill in the missing information.
Some researchers believe that people, even a large group of people, use confabulation to remember what they feel is most likely a sequence of events. But according to some proponents of the Mandela effect, this happens because of alternate universes or parallel universe. The theory assumes that there are many universes existing at the same time, so there can be multiple outcomes for a single thing. So in our universe, Mandela died in 2013, but in alternate ones, he died in prison in the 1980s. And that's what is creating this false memory for large groups of people in existence. There can be many ways of proving the Mandela effect based on alternate realities, multiverse hypothesis, and different timelines.
Yes, does anybody remember the television show Sliders? That was a very interesting show that sort of explored the possibility of alternate worlds with these group of people that were trying to get back to their universe. And it was interesting that occasionally they would slide into a world that would be almost exact to theirs with one little difference, like the Nazis won World War II, or the Soviets won the Cold War. It's interesting to think about. And I have a friend that's into physics who told me once, I don't know if he still believes this, but he told me that every decision that you're faced with can go, like, let's say, for example, you reach a crossroads on a hike and you go to the left path. He said in an alternate universe, you chose the right path. And in that universe, you went down a different path. Every decision can be different in a parallel world. Strange to think about that every decision that we make somehow affects the multiverse.
But those just don't seem very logical at their core. Now let's discuss, what if we built a time travel machine? Well, actually, let's go ahead and save that for the next episode of DiscoverZen.
Yeah, and I encourage you to check out his channel. It's called DiscoverZen. And I'm going to, one second, I'm going to copy the link and I will put it into our live chat here. Just bear with me one moment. I'm going to make sure that we give credit where credit is due. This is fair use. It's transformative work and we're educating the public. This guy does a great job explaining many strange things like the Mandela effect and time travel. So I'm going to put it into the live chat, DiscoverZen. And if you liked that video, he's got many videos. I'm going to ask him to be a guest here and talk about some of these strange concepts that he covers, including the plurality of worlds, simulation theory, the Mandela effect, and many other things. I'm also going to edit the video and add it to the description. Talk about doing things on the fly here. Video. I'm just going to put video shared. DiscoverZen. Okay. And so if you're interested in learning more about some of these strange concepts, he covers a lot of weird things like plurality of worlds, CERN. By the way, CERN, many people, I went to go look up when did CERN start. See, sometimes oh, see, that's not right. Well, the first website was April 1993, but I'm trying to find out when the date was. Yeah, so if anybody knows, put it in the live chat. When was the CERN Large Hadron Collider first powered up or operational? Yeah, I'm looking at Wikipedia. It says it's a collaboration between 1998 and 2008 with over 10,000 scientists. The first sessions were achieved in 2010, and we see the Mandela effect started in 2009, apparently, or people noticed it. Some people have theorized that CERN is to blame for the Mandela effect, because every time they collide particles or something, we shift in the multiverse. Or I'm not sure how CERN plays a part in it, but you will notice that many people theorize that there is some sort of connection to CERN. CERN is somehow creating quantum vacuums or parallel merging with parallel universes. They're opening up portals to other universes, somehow parallel dimensions to our own, which is modifying or rewriting our timeline. The other big theory that I did really investigate is the theory that time travel is to blame. Somehow time travelers are creating this weird effect. And I don't understand how that could be. Like, would time travelers go back in time and change all the Bernstein Bears books to say Bernstein? Why? To see what would happen? If people would retain the memory? What if it's an experiment in time travel? Like, let's go back in time and change the Bernstein Bears books to Bernstein, and then go back to the present and see if people retain the original and true memory of it being Bernstein, or if they just accept and their memories are rewritten that it was always Bernstein. I don't know. People have made all these theories about this stuff. I think that it is a good possibility. However, I found an article in Medical News Today, which I tended to agree heavily with, that a lot of this may be just tricks of memory and time. So this article is from Medical News Today. What is the Mandela effect? The Mandela effect is a type of false memory, and many medical professionals, neurologists, and scientists seem to agree that this phenomenon is called by false memory, that occurs with many different people incorrectly remember the same thing. It refers to widespread false memory that Nelson Mandela, South African human rights activist and eventual president, died in the prison in 1980s. The article goes on to state, memories are not always precise recordings of events. They can change with time, and a person may have different memories in different contexts. Memory is also highly suggestible, which means that other people's opinions and memories may influence what a person remembers. And we can perhaps see examples of that. And also groupthink, I think, is a problem. For example, I was discussing this effect with several different people, and it appeared to me that at least one person in our group was not sure if they remembered Jiffy peanut butter or not. But when all of us said there was Jiffy peanut butter, Jiffy, suddenly that person who wasn't sure remembered, yeah, you're right, you guys are right, it was Jiffy peanut butter. So I think that group dynamics or group think, sometimes referenced, group dynamics is probably the proper psychological term, the peer pressure that people may be influenced by. Thus, widespread incorrect information can suddenly influence individual memories, giving rise to conspiracy theories and harmful false beliefs. Incorrect beliefs about the death of Nelson Mandela are just one example of the Mandela effect. Yeah, so we've covered this. Fiona Broome is who created or is largely credited with the originator of this thing called the Mandela effect. But here we get, again, this is from medicalnewstoday.com. It's one of their many articles there. I encourage you to check them out. They have good information. Memory is highly malleable. Input from other people can change memories, causing people to misremember events or remember events that never happened. Some potential causes of the Mandela effect include false memories. False memories are untrue or distorted recollections of an event. Some false memories contain elements of fact closely resembling an actual event in question. However, others are entirely false. Memory is very suggestible. This means that information from another person, a person's desire to believe something different, or false information online can influence memory. Yeah, and I wondered during the course of researching this, are we all really remembering things a certain way, or is there some manipulation going on, right? Like, it's hard to get your brain around some of this. Some of this, like, it was head scratchers. Some of it kind of gave me a headache trying so hard to intensely remember. The article goes on to state that people can believe a wide variety of false things. For example, scientists have been able to falsely induce memories of committing a crime. In one study, people could not distinguish false from real memories. Researchers have discovered a simple method of inducing false memories called the Dees-Rodinger-McDermott task paradigm. During the DRM task paradigm, participants read a list of related words such as zebra, monkey, whale, snake, elephant. After reading the list, researchers will ask whether or not they recall a lure word, which is a related word not on the list. Usually, the participants will recognize the lure word and recall reading it, even though it was never on the list. Then we have confabulation, which the video covered, priming. In psychology, priming describes a phenomenon in which the exposure to a stimulus directly influences a person's response to subsequent stimulus. For example, if a person reads or hears the word grass, they will recognize another related word, such as tree or lawnmower, more quickly than an unrelated word. Priming uses suggestive techniques to trigger a certain response. For example, "Did you grab the red ball from the shelf?" is much more suggestive than the phrase, "Did you take anything from the shelf?" Yeah, so it could be the power of suggestion, right? To just suggest, hey, everybody else remembers it this way. How do you remember it? Again, group dynamics may play a part in this. And then it gets crazy. Alternate realities or parallel universes. Brune describes the Mandela effect as a clear memory of an event that never occurred in this reality. Her explanation ties into several popular theories that suggest that the Mandela effect occurs when our reality interacts with other alternate realities or parallel universes. While these explanations draw upon real theories in physics, they lack scientific support. For example, some people argue that the Mandela effect provides evidence for multiple universes. Some physicists, drawing on theories such as string theory, argue that there are infinite possible universes. And then, of course, people are influenced by the internet. Features of the Mandela effect can include having a distorted memories, which aspects are partially or entirely inaccurate, clearly remembering entire events that did not happen, several unrelated people sharing similar distorted or inaccurate memories. And then we've already covered these examples. Here, how to recognize false memories. Consulting reliable sources such as encyclopedia, mainstream news sites, or peer-reviewed journals. But how do we know that the timeline didn't change those? This is where it gets complicated. Considering whether or not they may have a memory because someone else has that memory. Seeking independent evidence to support memories that seem suspicious or potentially harmful. And in summary, this article from Medical News Today states the Mandela effect refers to widespread false memories that large numbers of people or group of individual people believe. They may be harmless, but can also support conspiracy theories or political agendas. Memory is not a perfect recording of events that happened. It can change with time and with practice and priming. If a person's only source of evidence that something happened is from their own memory, it is possible it did not happen. Independent verification of memories, especially those with important social or political consequences, can slow the spread of misinformation and conspiracies. And while we're on that subject, the Mandela effect is really has caused a great deal of conspiracy theories. There are now Mandela effect conspiracy theories surrounding CERN. There are also conspiracy theories concerning the Mandela effect and nuclear weapons, that somehow this Mandela effect is created because of ripples in time created by atomic or nuclear weapons and weapons testing. Somehow, that opens a portal to other dimensions and things flip around or change around. There's an infinite number of conspiracy theories surrounding this. And while I do have to admit that many of these examples are head scratchers, I swear I remember Jiffy peanut butter and a bunch of other things, but we get to the science here, and I lean towards this isn't alternate dimensions or universes. This isn't time travelers affecting the timeline. This is simply the fallibility and the fragility of the human mind. But before we so quickly dismiss this as maybe nothing, okay, I'm getting a message from Steve Long. Yeah, I'll get with you, Steve Long, off air. Sorry, live right now. Steve Long was going to be a guest this week, but may have to reschedule. So not really important. Let me see if we can't find what I'm looking for. The best example to me of the Mandela effect was brought to me by Bob Kiviat. I guess he's the expert. Remember, he's the guy who is going to do a whole documentary on this. And I have to say that this is the one that really floored me. And I want to know, is this the best example that you have seen in tonight's show? 1 second. First, I got to put my fair use banner up for sure. We're going to be sharing a clip of Jimmy Kimmel. And this example of the Mandela effect is the one that truly floored me, because I'm sure I remember this from my childhood a certain way. And also, I was a Boy Scout, so they drummed this guy into our heads. Literally, every camping trip, they would read to us something about this character. Only you can prevent forest fires. And I am sure that I remember the character being named a certain way. Positive. This one I really thought about, even asked around. I wanted to contact old Boy Scout and Cub Scout friends of mine from grade school and go, how do you remember this shit? Remember they used to tell us about this guy? Only you can prevent forest fires. So we're going to be sharing a Jimmy Kimmel clip, which I'm always hesitant to share big companies' clips because I always got to deal with paperwork. But this one's so important that I did not want to leave it out. And it's important that I stress that this is fair use. This is a transformative work. We're educating the public about this Mandela effect. And Jimmy Kimmel experienced it live on his show. So we're educating the public. We'll be critiquing and discussing the video we're sharing. This is certainly covered under the principle of fair use and is allowable by law. Now let's get into this. This is the crazy one. This is the one that made me go, there's got to be something to this, and sent me, rushing down this rabbit hole. Especially this one, I had to get some explanation. I looked at this, listened to this, and said, there's got to be some explanation for this one because this is crazy. This one is my favorite. We saved the best for last in the presentation here. So this is Jimmy Kimmel experiencing the Mandela effect live on his show, brought to us. This one was discovered by Bob Kiviat.
Welcome to our annual costume party. I am Smokey Bear. Happy Halloween. Oh, I do want to tell you, it's Sid, relax. It's not Smokey the Bear, it's Smokey Bear. I found out there's no "the" in the name, which I have to say shook me to the core. 50 years I've been saying Smokey the Bear. This is like finding out it's Cedric Entertainer and you've been doing it wrong. This year.
All right, so there we go. Apparently, it's never been Smokey the Bear. Never. I went and looked. I was sure that it was always Smokey the Bear. Always. I was a Cub Scout. I was a Boy Scout. My dad was a Cub Scout master. My mom was a den mother. There was Smokey the Bear posters they would give the Cub Scouts. Only you can prevent forest fires. Smokey the Bear. I'm sure I remember seeing public service announcements where they called him Smokey the Bear. It's always to me been Smokey the Bear. Smokey Bear? What the hell is Smokey Bear? It's Smokey the Bear. You tell me in the live chat, was it Smokey the Bear when you were growing up? Do you remember Smokey the Bear or Smokey Bear? Smokey Bear sounds stupid to me and wrong. It was never Smokey Bear. It was always Smokey the Bear. Apparently, all I have been able to find out about this is that there was a song, and the songwriter, Smokey Bear, was too short to fit in the bar of music that he was singing the Smokey Bear song over, so he added the Bear, Smokey the Bear. That was the only time and reference. Now, this is where it gets crazy, because if you look up Smokey the Bear or Smokey Bear on the internet, it says it's Smokey Bear, not Smokey the Bear. The was added when songwriters penned Smokey's tune. It helped with the rhythm of the song. It's the only time Smokey Bear ever had a middle name. And if we look at the images, it's always just, you never see it written Smokey the Bear. It's always Smokey Bear. And that floored me, because this is the one example where I am most sure. I'm pretty sure on the Jiffy peanut butter and a bunch of these other things, examples, but on Smokey the Bear, I was convinced, right? No. And here we see it's Smokey Bear. You will not see in print ads it ever say Smokey the Bear. It's always Smokey Bear. Smokey Bear, it makes no sense to me. My whole childhood was a lie, right? It's always just Smokey Bear. You will never see it written with a the. There's no middle name. It's Smokey Bear, not Smokey the Bear. So either my whole childhood is a lie, or there's time travelers rewriting the timeline that I'm currently experiencing, or this is conflation. Somehow people just, maybe it was adults that would say Smokey the Bear when they were talking about it. To me, as a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout, I specifically remember Cub Scout and Boy Scouts leaders. And before we'd go on a camping trip, they would always remind us, you have to be very, very careful to prevent forest fires. Like Smokey the Bear says, only you can prevent forest fires. Remember Smokey the Bear, kids, and don't do anything dangerous on our camping trip. When we would put out campfires, I remember we'd all have to get our canteens out or whatever and put out the campfire together. And it had to be cold out. Why? Because Smokey the Bear says only you can prevent forest fires. That fire had to be cold out before we would leave. We would never leave hot coals in a fire ring or anything like that because of Smokey the Bear, right? And we can see that people are searching for logos for Smokey the Bear. And even if you search for logos, you won't find Smokey the Bear. You will only find Smokey Bear. Like I said, my whole childhood is perhaps a lie. And, but, you know, I'm still more interested in what you guys think than what I think. While I am a little too skeptical to just suddenly believe that time travelers are slowly rewriting the timeline I'm on and causing changes like Smokey the Bear turns into Smokey Bear. And then you have to ask yourself, why would time travelers do that? It doesn't really make sense, right? I don't understand. So, you know, while I'm too skeptical to jump into time travelers and alternate dimensions, there just still appears or seems to me to be something more to this than simply a play on memory. In the live chat, please tell me, do you remember it as Smokey the Bear or Smokey Bear? I've never heard the term Smokey Bear in my whole life. It's always been called Smokey the Bear. Yeah, and sports, we'll take comments and questions. The Mandela effect is a memory phenomenon. That's what I'm finding out, but I still am struggling to go, it's just a memory. It's just a weird thing. It's just a weird thing with your memory. It's not, there's nothing special or crazy going on here, right? All right. And I want to thank Victor Wag for a kind and generous $6.99 Canadian who says Jiffy peanut butter is people misapplying Jiffy Pop popcorn. That's maybe where it is. Geez, you know how you tell somebody's age, they remember Jiffy Pop. Jiffy Pop. Let's look that up. Thank you for sharing that. I wouldn't have connected the dots. That's pretty interesting. Does anybody else remember Jiffy Pop growing up? I do. We always had it when we went camping. And Jiffy Pop, for you youngsters out there, it's what we had before microwave popcorn. It came in this thing, you put it on the stove, and then it would pump up. That's weird. That's artwork. What happened to my Jiffy Pop? So, here, this will be a better example. I'm sorry. Let me share this. So Jiffy Pop was before. Jiffy Pop was before microwave popcorn. Before microwaves were big. Yeah, we used to have to cook stuff, and it would cook up and pop up, and then you would eat it. As I recall, Jiffy Pop was nowhere near as good as microwave popcorn, though. I don't know. I wonder if they still make it. I bet you they do. But that may be where the Jiffy peanut butter conflation comes from, because at the time when thought I was growing up with Jiffy peanut butter, I sure as hell grew up with Jiffy Pop popcorn, right? Interesting. And thank you all for your kindness, generosity, and support, and the super chats. I am going to take a moment. We have to remind you that this is a viewer-supported show, and remind you how you can support the show. We want to thank all of you for being here, and thank all of our kind and generous benefactors, and let you know how you can help support the show.
Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal, or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Campion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members-only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truth Seekers. Thank you for your generosity and support.
UFO John Doe is here and says, "You messing with my emotions, Smokey." Yeah, that one messed with me. It really did. And Pragmagic saying, "Doing something quick and in a jiffy is a common idiom in the United States." Yeah, I agree with you. Jiffy, and there's also a Jiffy Lube. And some people have suggested that people were conflating Jiffy. I wouldn't conflate Jiffy Lube with Jiffy Peanut Butter, but I think Jiffy Pop is where that came from. And somebody is also suggesting that they do still make. Yeah, Al Warrior says they still Jiffy makes you pop, and somebody in the live chat mentioned that they do still make it. Yes, Archaic Revival says Jiffy Pop is still sold. I guess it would be good if you're camping or something, right? You don't have a microwave handy. I wonder if it tastes any better. Now I'm going to have to go buy Jiffy Pop, right? Yeah. Yeah, and here we have examples. Frapsap says, "I remember that girl in Moonraker having braces 100%. I agree with you. Also, I wanted to mention NV, a long-time user here. I don't see NV today. Or let me check in with one other thing here. Oh, do I got the right one? No. So I just wanted to mention, because somebody sent NV5150 sent a Cash App, but send it to truthseekershow@gmail.com. And in that case, it just goes to my email and tells me to sign up. But we've already got a Truth Seekers Show Cash App, and it's in the description of the video. You don't include an email address, just Truth Seeker Show, and that's in the description of the video here. So I'm sorry about that, NV5150. I didn't get your Cash App, and I really, we can't sign up for another one because I have enough stuff to keep track of. But I thank you anyway for your kindness, generosity, and support. If you want to resend that, they'll put that couple of bucks that you sent back in your account when nobody claims it. We can't have multiple Cash App accounts. That'll get things confused real quick. And we'll also check in with the PayPal supporters. And we thank all of you kind and generous benefactors. And thanks to Mr. Ian for being the new announcer. I still have to cut this one other thing. And we want to thank Sweet Caroline for kind and generous PayPal. $13, showing my support. Thanks for always providing us great content. And that's from Sweet Caroline. We thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Much, much appreciated. And yes, I saw that. I see your message here. Wild Ascension is reminding people to smash that like button. Yeah, and I did, and we thank you. Also, a member, Sweet Caroline, big show supporter. Thank you for the kindness, generosity, and support of the show. It really, Sweet Caroline says she can't chit chat. Oh, sorry. A lot of people listen while they do something else. UFO John Doe is here with a kind and generous $9.99. And from here on in, I'm sorry I didn't. If I did not, I'm sorry I didn't share any of the super chats on the screen while we did the presentation, but I'll share any of them that come in from now until we wrap things up here. Thank you, UFO John Doe, longtime show supporter and continuing supporter and a channel member. Also, I wanted to mention that a few weeks ago, I mentioned that I got blurry like Bigfoot. Well, how does that happen so much? There we go. I wanted to mention that I said that I had this video of the new land that we kind of bought a forest, and I had to cut some things out of those videos because I was saying things that virtually identify exactly where it is. I was talking about this highway over here, and so I'm cutting those things out. I meant to have that for Patreon and PayPal supporters done. I didn't get it done, but tonight I'm going to finish editing that. So everybody that's a member and PayPal supporter will get the first look at our new worldwide headquarters, and we'll post that publicly soon. I have a few other things there to a few other videos that we'll be uploading, and as we usually do, we will upload them for members and Patreon supporters, and then in a few days or a week we post them here publicly, and we thank you all for your support. You get early access to everything we do here as a member. And I should explain, so PayPal is $1 a month and you get a bunch of extra goodies, extra videos, early access and things like that. And you also get access to our backstage pass and just a bunch of extras that we put on Patreon to thank you for throwing a couple bucks in our hat and supporting the show. That's $1 a month. The membership is $5 and you get all the Patreon benefits plus some extra YouTube goodies. So in other words, every time I post something to Patreon, I put it in the members section too. So you guys all get it. Whatever happened to the adorable little clown clip who thanked people for praising the cash? We'll still have them. I haven't used those clips because I have new clips that I cut but never finished with him. And I keep saying, I shouldn't use the old ones. I'll use, the new ones. But then, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong thing here. Somehow we have expanded and have, like 6 tabs of stuff. But you're right. We should still use him, Brandy. Thank you all for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. We appreciate you.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Pragmagic, noticing the Mandela effect in real time, says, wasn't it always hit that like button? It's happening in real time. Yeah, I agree with you. It's one of the strange ones here. So I'm not sure what you guys think. I am mostly thinking that this is a strange effect of memory and conflation and groupthink and group dynamics and maybe suggestion. Internet of the the influence of the internet or something like that. And I see you, John. 1 second here. Let me I may have to refresh that here. Well, John P, I don't see it. I left you a present on PayPal. Cheers, we're squared. Maybe did you mean from another time, or did you do that today? Let me show all. Yeah, the last one I'm showing is from Carolyn Barnett, John. This happens. Sometimes people conflate that email address. There's a donate button, donate by PayPal on the home screen of our change. Oh, some days ago. Okay, well, let me look. Is that UDB? Congrats on breaking 6K, but more importantly, for continuing to do good work. That was some time ago. I'm not sure if that's what you're referencing. Otherwise, don't see it. But DB maybe, right? Yeah, longtime show supporter. Thank you for helping us to praise the cash. Much, much appreciated. Oh, for the third phase of Moon documentary. Well, thank you. We appreciate your helping us. That was a labor of love, right? Wild Ascension is going to start painting aliens again. That would be cool. I keep saying that I'm going to pick up. I used to paint when I was much, 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 much younger. And, but, life gets in the way. Kids and wife and house and bills and whatever else, but I used to enjoy it. I used to paint sort of all different things, but mostly landscapes, and I was a big fan of doing that. I thought it was therapeutic, right? it always felt good to just sit there and paint for a few hours, even if it was terrible. Sometimes I would throw them in the trash. They were they were bad, right? But you don't get better without practice. So yeah. Okay, $1. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see it, but thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. We appreciate you doing that. I will refresh again, but I don't see it there, John. This happens. Sometimes people get the email address wrong or the PayPal address wrong. It's truthseekershow@gmail.com. That's the PayPal address. Sometimes it gets lost in limbo, right? So any more comments or questions, please put them in all capital letters. And we want to thank everybody for joining us, especially because we are not covering the dreaded UFO topic. We're going to be doing more shows like this, covering more strange and esoteric topics. And that is really originally the way the show was supposed to be. But we got stuck down one specific rabbit hole too much, and that may be due to it gets better views or whatever the case may be. And yes, somebody asked me, I am aware of people saying things on Twitter or whatever. All I can tell you is that we stand by our work here, and our work is factual and sourced with multiple sources. If I was just in the business of telling stories that are unverified, unverifiable, we would just host storytellers here every day that have no evidence or proof. We try to do things differently. And, one of the things I'm learning with my newfound sobriety, by the way, we have just 2 weeks and 2 days, 16 more days, and I will be at 180 days sober, 6 months. I'm sure I'm going to make it. Been struggling a little bit with that, but I have found that keeping myself extremely busy helps. And I'm going to be doing something I've been meaning to get to for a while, which is my wife's honey-do list. For those unaware, when we first moved here to this big, huge house in the suburbs, it needed a lot of work, and I painted this whole house just about. And it's 3,500 square foot. So that took quite, by myself, I painted this huge house, and there's these big vaulted ceilings, and I almost thought I was going to die painting these huge high ceilings in the living room. But, I think that all that painting killed me for doing house projects for a while, but I am feeling, like attacking more things here. And unfortunately, one of the things that's really bad is the kitchen here. I mean, everything works. Cabinets are cabinets, but they are old and crappy looking. And so my wife and I were considering just ripping them all out and putting them back in. But then we got sticker shock, paying something like $7,000 or $8,000 just for kitchen cabinets is not really something either of us wanted to do. So I'll be painting and refinishing them all. And then I got to put a kitchen floor in. We need a bathroom floor as well. And I don't know how Alien Scientist does that. He does tile work, and his work is amazing. It is beautiful. I wish I could just bribe Jeremy Rise, Alien Scientist, to come over here and do these floors with or for me, because he's amazing at it. I'm okay, but I'm slow because I'm not a professional. He is at that. And I don't know if there's something he likes it. Maybe it's like gives him time to think, but I have a ton of work to do. I'm going to get started on that stuff. My wife has been very patient with me. I think she understands that I'm always building something or painting something or, working on the cabin. So I think she's doesn't really want to ask too much of me here, but there's things it's one of those things, like it's just something I should do or I should be doing more of for her. She's a great mother, great wife, She doesn't ask much, but that kitchen is really, I should post pictures. It's not that bad, but it's old and ugly, right? Mr. Blood Vessel, it's so funny. We tried, it's Mr. Blood Vessel saying, do a show on cryptid. I think you mean cryptocurrency. We've tried to do that. We did this show on cryptocurrency, and this guy named Shem Booth came here. Poor guy. The live chat ripped him apart and said he was a scammer live on the show. And like, I was kind of happy because I was starting to get the feeling or impression that he was a scammer, and I didn't know. Like, he was supposed to talk about crypto in general and the blockchain. And what he did is he came on the show and started pumping his crypto and saying that all the other cryptos are scams. The live chat ripped him apart. Some of his trolls came here and just ripped him to shreds. I almost felt bad for him, but I was glad that I didn't have to do it. The live chat did it for me, right? I don't know who's promoting their show, but it's fine. It's fine. People can do that. I don't find that disrespectful, but there is that sort of unwritten rule that you ask or something before you do that. Wild Ascension says about her paintings, I just threw some of mine in the trash to make room for more new paintings. My dad used to paint landscapes. Yes, it's meditating. I think that it is. I think that it definitely is, right? And Penial Power says to share your perspective as opposed to just listening to another one person's view. No disrespect of any kind to our Truth Seeker brother here, John Griffin. Yeah, I mean, we have a free speech zone here. People are free to share their perspective. Sasquatch, Saskash. Yeah. And by the way, this weekend is the big weekend. We're going to be doing a simulcast on the 19th, this coming Saturday, with Anthony from Unidentified S4 and Ron from Cosmic Neighbors. I think all three of us, if the internet at the the crappy internet at the cabin can handle it, we're going to be all broadcasting at once, or maybe we'll take turns if we have issues with the internet not being robust enough to have us all three streaming. Maybe we'll just do two of us at a time and round robin it, or I'm not sure how we're going to do it. I have to talk to those guys, but that'll be another Truth Seeker special event this Saturday night. We're doing a sky watch, and some of you know that the cabin is at the highest elevation on, I think, the whole East Coast, definitely Pennsylvania, my state, but it may be for the entire East Coast. It's way high up in the mountains. And because of that, and also the fact that it's out in the middle of nowhere in the woods, there's no real light pollution, so you can see all kinds of things with the naked eye, including satellites, Iridium ones, the International Space Station, and I think there's some strange things going on there, but I don't have good cameras, and every time I try to film with my phone or the cameras that I do have, it just looks like a light blob in the sky, and you get nothing from the crappy cameras I have. So Patty is here, and she says, hi, all got distracted and arrived late. Well, we're still glad that you're here, and maybe I'll get you something like a watch, right? No, we're glad to see you, Patty. So you could see some strange things in the sky at the cabin. I've never been able to capture them well with the crappy cameras I have. So these guys, Ron from Cosmic Neighbors and also Anthony from Unidentified S4, they're both coming to the cabin. By the way, I got ribs and chicken and all kinds of stuff. We're going to have a man barbecue somehow, even if we have to cook it inside the cabin. I hear it's going to be freezing cold at the cabin. The first real, these guys, I told them to come earlier. Nobody listens to me, but the last weekend, it was the last really warm weekend. So let's see. We're going to look at the weather. Oh, great. The high on Saturday is 28 degrees. The low is 19 at the cabin. It's going to be a cold one, and we're going to be outside doing a sky watch I told these guys to come earlier. I told them it's going to get freezing in the next couple of weeks, guys. It's going to be freezing cold here. You should come now or come next week. No. But I get it. You know, everybody's got a life. They have to, you know. All right, Pineal Power. That's fine. You can. No personal benefit for me promoting that channel. Just dropping a link for anyone interested here. Interaction is an important factor in truth seeking. Yeah, it's fine. Pineal Power can do that, right? Frapsap says, I think people misremember Nelson Mandela's release from prison in 1990. I did a paper on that and apartheid in college. Yeah, it really could be. It really could be that, right? So this weekend, we're doing this special sky watch, and it's going to be 19 degrees at night. Great job, Ron, and great job, Anthony. You waited. Listen, the last good weekend to be outside was this past one. From here on in, it's going to be 20 there at night, or 10, or 0, or God forbid, -10. I've only been there once when it was negative degrees, and it was cold, and I was like stoking the fire every half hour, and it was still cold. Unless you sat right by the fire, you were cold, and I don't want to go there and be uncomfortable. So, you know, some of those times now when it gets that cold, I just check out. I go, I'm not going. I'll wait until next weekend when it's back to 20 at night. 20 is bearable because you get the fire going. You get a 40-degree difference at least. So it's 60 or 70 in the cabin, right? Yeah, 10. It was 10. The coldest it's ever been, Mr. Ian, when I was there, I think was like -10 or -12 or something like that. Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is Celsius. You English guys, let me see. -10 Fahrenheit. I have to do. I don't know how to do that. Fahrenheit to Celsius. There we go. -10 Fahrenheit. I'll tell you for you English people. -12 degrees. Oh, 10 Fahrenheit. No, we went -10. All right, it was -23 degrees Celsius was the coldest. -10 degrees Fahrenheit, -23 degrees Celsius is the coldest it's ever been at the cabin when I was there. And yeah, B. Baker says no one cares, right? Patty says, make that watch a Rolex. I need one for me first. I've always wanted one. I don't even know why, because I have friends that have them, and I look at it, and when I see them in person, I don't really want one. I'm like, it's a fancy watch, but but there's something about that tradition and handcrafted and winding and all of that. I don't know. There's something I like about them. Maybe someday. Until then, I'm going to find a good mechanical watch that's like a Rolex, like a mechanical, watch you wind, but not a Rolex, right? I've never been big on certain brands as status symbols, Growing up, I remember, especially going to high school. I went to an all-boys Catholic high school, and there was always these stupid things that you were supposed to have, like Hugo Boss pants or certain designer. I could care less. I could care less about all that stuff, right? Yeah, Rorschach Mad says Truthseekers is going to have his hands full with S4 and Cosmic Ron. I agree with you. Yeah. I'm going to have my hands full just trying to feed all these guys because, I've got plenty of food, though. We've got frozen pizzas and ribs and chicken, and I'm going to get some stuff for breakfast. And I have going to make like hash browns and I guess eggs and bacon or something for breakfast. I don't know. I was going to make waffles, but, I don't know. I've been meaning to get a cast iron waffle iron forever, and I was going to use this as an excuse to get the waffle iron, right? I'm growing quite a nice collection of cast iron. Everything is cast iron. I need a few cast iron pots at the cabin, and then I'm good. I have all the cast iron cookware I need. We have tons of frying pans, and I've got pizza pans that are cast iron, and a cast iron teapot and all that kind of stuff. I like that there, especially because you got to be careful with pots at the cabin because everything is made with plastic now. Like the pan will be metal, but the handle will be plastic. You can't put that on a wood cook stove. It'll just melt. So I learned that the hard way. I'm like, oh, it'll be all right. Nope. Maybe if you put it off the edge, the handle off the edge. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see if Jimmy Kimmel copyright claims me. Right? We'll see if that happens. Actually, I like to. I'll check in. Sometimes the algo doesn't catch it until hours later. Yeah, so far, Jimmy Kimmel hasn't copyright claimed us. He probably will, though. And I don't blame Jimmy Kimmel. You've got some of those guys use these service companies that are like, they grab it. There's anybody using anything, right? Pino Power says, we recently talked about Gematria on Comedy Central and Jimmy Kimmel and Jeopardy. Can you say Great Awakening damage control? Yeah, if you say so. Well, I've got getting blurry again. I've got to bounce on out of here. So yeah, Mysterious Moonbasis says cast iron gives it the flavor. It add a little bit more iron. It actually does add a tiny bit of iron to the food, or so I'm told. I've never suffered any ill effects. I like the cast iron, and it's easy to clean, especially being a man. Like, I don't wash with soap and water those things. I put a little bit of water in the pan. I put it back on the wood stove, and then I scrub it out. I put a little water in the pan, put it back on the wood stove, and then I scrub it out. Then I just rinse it, dry it, hang it back up, and you're good to go for the next time you need to cook something. Yeah. CBS took down a stream of mine with Star Trek. Yeah, people send me clips all the time where they're using like pieces of Star Trek or Star Trek The Next Generation. I'm always like, I can't use it, and it sucks. They should let you use like 5-second clip without doing that. But, I guess intellectual property is intellectual property. And by the way, interestingly, somebody is stealing, speaking of intellectual property, somebody is stealing our videos, right? 20 minutes into, so on Odyssey, there's a channel that's just taking our videos and posting them. And I don't even care if people do that, but at least give a link back, so I contact them and said, hey, that's my video. Can you give a link back? And they're like, who the hell are you? Nobody knows who you are. Go to hell. I'm like, oh, that's great. And then it became something about money. You should call yourself money seekers. Like, I just wanted you to give a link back to my YouTube channel for using my content. That's how kind of rude some people are, right? But it is what it is. What are you going to do? Wow. Yeah. So we're going to bounce. Mysterious Moonbasis says, what I mean is those old cast iron ones that could have been passed down, they give it that soul flavor. Yeah, that stuff will be around long after I'm gone. My kids will have that, right? My grandchildren could have that. Those things last forever. And what I have found is you just season them once in a while, a tiny little bit of olive oil on a paper towel, you rub it in, put it in the oven for a half hour at a high temperature, take it back out, do it again, hang it up. It's good for a year or two once it's seasoned, and those things last forever. I want to get a set for the house here, but they get to be expensive, and now I may have another place that I'm going to need cookware for, so we'll see. Yeah. So we're going to bounce on out of here, friends. I will be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. And Thursday, we're supposed to have Steve Long here, but he may be feeling under the weather. So I'll give an update as to whether he'll be able to make it or not. He sent me some messages I'm going to read as soon as we're off air here. So I want to thank the chat room moderators. I want to thank you kind and generous benefactors, including you PayPal supporters and you Patreon supporters, channel members, cash appers, and super chatters, super stickers, and especially you super thanks people. I am doing something now where super thanks is where you can send money after the stream ends or the live show ends. And we want to thank and appreciate all of you. So going forward, I have set it to give me a notification of the super thanks. As soon as I see one, I will write it down or screenshot it, and we will be sharing those as well live on the show. Don't want to leave you super thankers out. And we super thanks you for doing that. It really does help. So that's all we got for you for tonight, friends. But we'll be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Come and join us. I got some special surprises for you tomorrow night. You're going to want to be here. If you want to have a good time and laugh, tomorrow night's the time to do it. So that's all I got for you, friends. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is there something to this Mandela effect? Or is this just a trick of memory and decay of memory over time? Confabulation, group dynamics? What do you think it is? Let me know what you think in the comments. So that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Campbell.
I'm an intel guy. I'm an intel guy. I'm an intel guy. If I called your mother a hooker. I'm an intel guy. If I called your mother a hooker. I'm an intel guy. If I called your mother a hooker. I'm an intel guy. If I called your mother a hooker.
With consciousness, consciousness, 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 with consciousness.
All sound, not agent. Agent came after, came after, came after, came after.
I called your mother a hooker.
All sound, not agent. Agent came after, came after, came after, came after.
I'm an intel guy. If I called your mother a hooker. I'm an intel guy. If I called your mother a hooker.
Masses.
If I called your mother a hooker. I'm an intel guy.
mother a hooker.
I'm an intel guy.